Hello everyone, it's Jackie and today I'm back with a tag along. So a little tutorial on how I put this tag together. I made the original with card and a paper bag, and I also made the original double-sided because these were made to hang on a ring. Today we're going to do something similar, but we're not going to use a paper bag because I haven't got any left that are like this. So we're going to have a go with some pattern paper and some card and just put it together as a single-sided tag, because for what we do in our journaling junk journals, I think it's probably more useful. I'm actually going to make three, but we'll concentrate on one for the tutorial. So to start with, let's pop that there. To start with, you'll need a piece of card 7 inches by 3 3/8, and the inside tag here is 2 7/8 by 6 inches. So cut those, and then instead of the paper bag, we're going to make two pockets. We've got a side pocket here and a top pocket there. So I'm going to use patterned paper, and I've got the same for this one, so because I want to recreate this bag. So this one measures 6 by 3 3/8, and this one measures 6 by 2 7/8. Oh, it's all in inches, so that's going to go on this. For the others, I've taken some 6 by 6 paper pads, and I've cut the card the same size, and I've cut the papers the same size, but I've done contrasting papers. So we'll see how those go. I won't do those on camera, but I'll show you those as we go along. Hopefully, if this works out the way I want it to work out. For the original, I used a library card, and I have got some original library cards. For these, I'm going to make something a bit different. So you'll also need, if you're going to do it right from scratch, you'll also need another piece of card which is 3 inches by 5 inches. Okay, and then for the image on the front, it's just cut from a book, and I've been using this book which is called A Victorian Flower Album. It's actually a little diary, and you can pick these up in the UK. You can pick them up secondhand quite cheaply at the moment. Not if you all go and buy one. The price will go up because they'll disappear, but not to worry. So I've cut that to, I haven't written this all down, sorry. So I've cut that to 1 7/8 by 5 inches. And that's going to go on there with some book page underneath it. And then you'll also need a little bit of coloured or pattern paper for the top of the tag. And I've just used an offcut from this, so that's going to go across the top like that. So we're going to end up something along those lines. So let's see how we're going to start. I am going to do stitching, so I'm going to go backwards and forwards a little bit on this video and try and link them together. So the first thing I'm going to do is ink the edges of my paper with walnut stain distress ink. I do it this way. People seem to either do it this way or they go that way. I've always done it this way for years and years and years. I'm also using my camera instead of, well, my phone, phone, instead of an iPad. So I'm really hoping I can stay in picture, in frame for this. Okay, so these I want, at the top I want them together, and at the bottom and the side, but I want that left open. But what I would like on this one, it's going to be a little bit different from the original. I'm going to sew, the first thing I'm going to do is do a line of straight stitching down here, and I'm going to use brown thread. Then I'm going to put that on top of that, and I'm going to do a line of straight stitching across here, so that I've got sort of a border on both of those. Once I've done that, I'm going to come back to my original card and glue this. In fact, we'll do this first, so at least you'll see. Let's do this first. Sorry, let's do this first. So let's just glue that piece on the top there. I'm just using glue stick. I'm not too worried about the edges because I'm going to machine stitch all around this eventually. So that's glued on there. And I'm going to use my template to cut some corners off. Just trying to decide how big I want the corners. I think we'll cut them off at quite a decent angle. It's quite a big, this is quite a big tag, and obviously you could adapt it to any size you liked really. So that's that. Go round there just so you can see the effect. Okay, so start again. So I'm going to just go through it again. On the smaller width, I'm going to do a line of straight stitching down here. Unfortunately, I can't video this bit. Then I'm going to put them together and I'm going to do a line of straight stitching across the top there. And then I'm going to come back to this tag. I'm going to just tack the edges with a bit of glue behind here, here and here, so that it's not going to move. And then I'm going to stitch all the way around those edges. So I'm going to get that far and then come back and show you how I'm going to finish this off. I might try and do the others as well to see how we get on with those. Okay, so I'm back and this is where I've got to now. So I stitched down this edge first, so down this edge first, and then I joined the two together and stitched across the top. So I've got this arrangement, and then I thought I'd show you what I mean by when I say tack it down. The way I just hold this in place so that I can sew around the whole thing is I just literally put a little bit of glue stick on the edges, just in 2 or 3 places, and just press that down. Let it dry for a few minutes. You can see here I've got a slight bit of the white showing through of the original cardstock, so I'm just going to trim that off. You could do it with a craft knife, would be a bit neater. And once that's dried a little bit, because I've got stitching here and here, I'm just going to stitch round the 3 edges, okay, which is what I've done on this one. On the original, I had some lace on this back piece. Now, I think on the original I stitched the lace in with the but I wanted the lace to be separate, so I'm actually just going to pop this lace in, cut it to size, if I can get that in there. I'm just going to pop that lace in there. I want it to overlap the edge, but only a little bit. And I'm going to glue, I'm just going to glue it down, and I'm using a matte, oops, got a bit clogged up. I'm using Cosmic Shimmer dries clear glue, so it goes on white and it dries clear. And this one is actually quite, it's not a shiny finish, so I should get away with this down here. So let's pop that on there. I will need to let that dry, but it shouldn't take too long. Okay, so now we're going to do the decoration for the front, and it's a very simple one. So as I said, I've cut this piece of botanical paper. Again, I'm just going to glue some glue stick down the centre, and then I've got some book page. It's not old book page, you could use old. I think I used French on this one. This isn't French, but that doesn't really matter. I pop that on there, and I just want to tear, my paper around it, so I'm just using, I haven't got one of those tear rulers, I haven't got around to making one, so I'm just using a straight steel edge, and I'm just ripping it. Do the shorter edges first, just because it makes everything a bit easier. And then what I'll need to do, again, you could do this stage before you stitch these together. I don't think it matters much really. Just ink the edges of those. And then what I'm going to do is take this back to the sewing machine. I'm going to zigzag around this edge and then glue that on there. So that's my embellishment for the front of that. I'm going to put an eyelet in the top. I sort of eyeball this, but I do mark it before I actually make it. So that's where I want my hole to be with the crocodile. Got a little gold. Oh, I can't think what anything's called today, sorry. Anyway, there we go. So that's that. I'm going to put some sari silk in there. I'm going to put some sari silk in there, and I'm going to cover this tag for the inside of this pocket with some old, just some old book page. So I'll go and stitch this, and then I'll show you how everything else goes together and what the finished tag looks like. Okay, so we can finish this off, I believe. I've done a zigzag around that one, and I'm just going to pop that on there. I'm using, it says Beacon 3-in-1, it's not Beacon 3-in-1, but I quite like this, the way this little pot, or little, what's this called? Anyway, it's quite a nice size. So I tip my Collall glue into this bottle. I think Collall glue is quite similar to the 3-in-1. It's just a bit runnier. So that's going on there. It would be fine to stitch that on. I've got this book page. If I'm not using florals, I quite like ladies in gowns. So I'm going to attempt to get that fairly central. So she's pretty much in the middle. So this time I'm going to use a bit of sorry, I'm not as prepared as I thought I was. Anyway, sure you can identify. I'm going to use a bit of glue all over this. Hoping that my pencil measurements won't show through now. They probably will. And I'm going to pop this down roughly in the middle there. It doesn't have to be perfect. I will rub that out, or I might cover the back of this as well. So there's our lady to go in there, around the corners. And I'm going to ink the edges. What I will probably do off camera is put some tea-dyed paper on the back of this so that it can be used for journaling on. That would be the sensible option. And I'm going to, because I'm going to be tying sari ribbon here and here, I'm going to do something different at the top here, and I'm going to put some of this lace. I'm going to put some of this lace at the top. Do it like that, or like that. Right, so what I'm going to do, this is actually doubled over. I often cut it in half to use it. But what I'm going to do with this is just stitch that across the top. If you can bear with me, I will quickly go and do that. Maybe a second. 10 seconds. There we go. So that will go in there. So that looked quite pretty coming out the top. And then I haven't got any yellow sari silk, so I found a bit of green which tones. It doesn't exactly match. So that's going through the side of that one. That down a little bit, so that can go in there, and then this piece that I've got left I'm going to put in the top. And I'm just going to cut that down a little bit as well. I don't like these too long. So there we are, that's us done. Quite like this one. I had the tag showing out the top. I quite like that it doesn't show, but hopefully people realise that, or whoever's journal this goes in, people realise that that is a pull. You can do that. What I'm going to do, I am done, but I'm going to finish the other two off and hopefully do a very, very quick last bit to this video, so that you can see what they look like separately. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Okay, I hope you're still watching. Two things. First is there was a little error earlier on which I need to correct. When I said I stitched round, I think I said 3 sides, it was 4. I went over the bottom again because otherwise you're going to end up with a gap at the bottom. You've probably discovered this if you've been following me along. If you don't want to stitch across again, just a bead of glue between the two will be fine. Also, the light it's about an hour after I finished the last video. The light's gone nearly, even though it's only 4:20 here, but hopefully you can see enough to see how I finished these off. So this is the original where I've used the library card and I've put the lace here, and this pulls out and is a journaling card or tag in there. This one I've done, I've left the lace off these two because this one I used the same pattern paper, This, I used a contrast and I wanted to keep the contrast, so this one is fairly simple. There's a little collaged journal card in the pocket with an eyelet, and I've just tied that, and then this tag is another botanical, and again I've used a bit of lace and I've tied it in a bow for a change at the top there, just needs adjusting a little bit, and I've used a tab on the top. And then the third one, I glued a little bit of the lace behind this before I stuck it down, so glue the lace behind it and then glue the whole thing down. I've used some of the wider lace at the top for decoration. I've got another journal card in here, and I've managed to sneak a flower fairy in, so that's fairly straightforward in that pocket. And the tab in there, I've just changed up slightly, so this is an encyclopedia page with a bit of image on it. I actually probably would stamp a butterfly or something, or some words at the top there if I was going to put this in a journal. And I would back everything with tea-dyed paper if I was going to put them in a journal, but these are probably going to go as gifts when I send journals to people. So thank you all for watching. Hope you made it to the end. This is a bit long, but we'll see you all again soon.